What's up, everybody? How's it going? This is RLS ASMR. So today I'm going to be doing a Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3 movie review. I got some gum, and just for flavor, I'm trying this energy drink. This Ghost Tropical Mango energy drink. That's good. So, sorry for my squeaky chair. At this point, you guys should know that I have a very squeaky chair. And it is very annoying. But, guys, I have a whole crap ton of notes that I'm going to be referencing. Because I decided, well, I polled you guys, if you guys ever want to know. So, always check my community tab, because I'll be doing a lot of polls to figure out what you, the viewer, want to watch. Because I have all these ideas, but I don't know which one you want to see first. So, check my community tab. Also, if you like this video, you like this kind of content, shoot me a like and subscribe for more. I'm almost at 1,000 subs. So, without wasting any more time, I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about the movie. So, basically, the movie begins with Rocket. Well, you know it's Rocket because it's a bunch of raccoons in a cage, and there's someone walking towards the cage. It's like the opening cutscene. And then it cuts to, after that, you see, like, Rocket in nowhere, you know, the planet with this, like, the celestial head. He's walking around. And in the background, they're playing Creep, which, if you actually, like, have watched the movies, you know that, like, Rocket has a very negative self-image. And him and Drax got into a fight because he called him like a freak, and that triggered Rocket because he feels like a freak and like a creep, like a weirdo. And then if you watch the second movie, Rocket stole batteries from the sovereign race, the Golden People. Now, the son of that queen lady, he's called Warlock. So basically, he comes after Rocket and starts attacking him. And then all the friggin' Guardians they show up to basically defend Rocket, you know, because that's their boy. So, the Warlock, he can fly, and he uses these energy beams. Rocket shoots at him with a gun, like an energy gun, and he retaliates by shooting back one of his energy beams, and then that makes Rocket, like, I don't know if it's like anaphylactic shock or whatever, but he's incapacitated. They try to use a med pack on him, but they can't, and they find out that that's because basically there's like a kill switch on his heart. And this is the whole crux of the movie. Everything that I'm about to talk about is basically, for the majority of the movie, they're trying to save Rocket because the kill switch needs a passkey. So they go to try and find this passkey. They find out that the passkey was basically, it's from this company, Orgo Corp, or what? I think it's I don't know if it's Orgo Corp or Orgo Corp. Someone you can definitely, like, correct me in the comments or something or whatever. I don't know. So the Guardians then try to go to Orgo Corp. The next scene, that's like a major scene, is basically, it's a giant flesh, like, building. I don't know how to describe it. It's like It's like made out of organic flesh, which is disgusting, but whatever. So then, basically, there's these three barriers. It's like these invisible ring barriers they have to break through in order to get in there. As Quill is basically helping Nebula disarm each barrier, Mantis is having this conversation with him because Quill feels guilty because he feels like Rocket is just another person in his line, in this long line of people who have either left him or that's gonna like die, basically. And he only feels like that because if you've watched one, which I don't know why you'd be listening to this review if you don't know the first two movies, because it all ties, or if you're not like a Marvel fan, I hope you all are Marvel fans because that's kind of awkward. Because it doesn't make, this is good noises by the way. Just looking over to my Audacity. Let me know if you like that. I was just playing with them and I'm like, I wonder if this is ASMR. Anyways, sorry. So, basically, they go there and Mantis is having this whole conversation with him, like consoling him about like, well, you left because the Ravagers abducted him. They're like, well, you left your grandpa when he was in his mourning too, because it was his daughter, like, you know, because basically it's his daughter that died, but like, you know, Quill's mom. So it's like, okay, well, you left too, so maybe he's going through a lot of like mourning and there's a lot of unresolved tension there. But as that's going on, we get a flashback of like Rocket and his life before he met the Guardians. So let me look at my notes real quick. Yeah, like the flashback of the beginnings of his life. So the High Evolutionary, which is this dude, the High Evolutionary is this dude that like, spoiler alert, he's the one who created Rocket, and he's the one who owns Orgo Corp. So like, he visits the High Priest. This is how you figure out like that he's involved with Orgo Corp. He basically visits the High Priestess, and like, which is the mother of the Warlock dude. And the long and the short of it is that he basically tells them, if you guys don't get, you know, because Rocket, his like Oracle Corp name, like his species identification tag, is I'm pretty sure it's 89P13. And so he's like, if you don't give me 89P13, I'm gonna eradicate your whole race. Because like, the long and the short of it is that like, that's what he does. He goes to different planets, and then he creates different races of people, and then he like straight up like kills them. If there's anything wrong with them, he'll just eradicate them all. He's like worse than Thanos, because at least Thanos would only kill half of the population. This guy he'll create people, and then if he doesn't like what he created, he'll just erase it all. He treats everyone like a chalkboard. And so he's suspecting that they're going to go to Orgo Corp. Now, basically the Ravagers board the ship. And they board the ship because Nebula was in contact with Gamora. If you remember, Gamora is essentially like, she doesn't often hear from her memories. They brought her back, but like, she doesn't have any of her memories because it's past Gamora, not the Gamora that died, that loved Quill. And so like, as a whole, it's like a subplot. He's like, my Gamora, she would want to help and save people. That's not how we do things here. And then she's always like, I don't know who you loved, but it's not me, And she's like a cold-hearted B-word, if you know what I mean. So, oh, and that's another thing. So they devised the plan to get into Orgo Corp to retrieve the passkey with the Ravagers, right? Then we see a flashback of Rocket's life, where he's with the High Evolutionary and he's doing like math on a chalkboard, and he's like, in the High Evolutionary is like, very good 89P13, and this is they're having this like conversation where essentially Rocket is like, he's like, oh, what's that? And then he's like, that's the sky. And then he's like, the sky. Oh, I forgot to mention, in the life, when I said, the beginnings of his life, we see him being operated on. I forgot to mention, that's actually a big part. Boy, he's being like operated on, and then it looks like he's been scalped, kind of. Because they were like, probably poking electron nodes into his brain, things like that. Probably to give him like the ability of speech and things like that. Probably rewiring his brain. That's probably why he was scalped. And then the other animals in the cage, there's like a walrus, an otter, and a bunny. I haven't gotten to the part where they have names yet, but if you've seen the movie and you're watching my review of it because you've seen it already, if you know, you know. But I'm going to tell you if you don't. Anyways, so basically, the scene I'm talking about now is he's doing math on a chalkboard. Very good, 89313, because he's good at math. He's showing signs of high intelligence, which is a good thing. Kind of, but not really. Kind of. It's good, but it's bad. Anyways, so he's showing signs of high intelligence. And then he brings Rocket. Oh, and in this scene, you also figure out the reason he calls himself Rocket is because he sees rockets flying off. Because he's looking out the window and he's seeing, what's that? And he's like, it's a rocket. And he's like, rocket, because rockets fly away into the sky. Anyways, and then you're like, oh, that's how he got his name, boy. But then he brings him into this room. And the High Evolutionary explains to him that they have this problem when they go to create and evolve a new species from like its, he takes a turtle, like a little turtle you would buy at like PetSmart or whatever. He puts it into this big chamber. It's like a giant see-through microwave type crap. It kind of reminds me of a microwave. I'm sorry. Sorry if the laugh is distracting or not relaxing, but it reminds me of a microwave. And so they turn it on. It evolves them into a grown humanoid type turtle. And then he goes, well, we have this issue where these animals, because the whole point is he's trying to build a new society. He calls it the New World. And so as he's going through that explanation, Rocket's like, the problem is that there's not enough filtration on this tube, and they name some kind of beta something alamino protein or whatever, and basically they're not filtering out enough of that. So because of that, it's causing them to become really mad and erratic. Because they're becoming mad and erratic, they can't they're not suitable for civilization. Basically, he figured that out, and then the evolutionary is like, huh, okay, that's weird. So the Guardians, they break into the base. I need more gum. Oops. Please. Okay. Uno momento. that should not be on camera. Because I don't feel like doing any cuts. I'll do some audio editing because of all the squeakiness of the chair and all that crap. But, I'm not gonna... I don't want to do any jump cuts. Anyways. Okay. So, they break into Orgo Corp. Will, he tries and woos this girl, I forgot her name. He's like, don't worry, I got this. I'm gonna woo her with my charm. It doesn't really work. Gamora steps in, and they retrieve the file of 89B13, aka Rocket. They retrieve his file. Now that they've retrieved this file, they have to make a break to get out of there. All the guards are mobilizing. Everyone's on him. He convinces the chick he was trying to hit on earlier to get him access into the system. And he uses the excuse of like, oh, I'm sure if I talk to them, I'll be able to reason with them. And Gamora's like, you can't possibly be that stupid. And he's like, yeah, I'm not actually that stupid. I just needed access to the system. And then he basically, like, the artificial gravity on everyone's suit, he disables it, so they go flying into the air. So, basically, then there's a flashback. After we figure that out, there's a flashback to Rocket's past, and they're in the cage, they're playing, they're having a good time. And they name themselves. So the rabbit, her name is Floor, because she was lying on the floor, so she wanted to be named Floor. The walrus, his name is Teeths, because, and he says specifically, because everyone has them. But I know he knows that everyone has them, but I think his are more pronounced. And then the otter's name is Lila. Lila or Nyla, I'm pretty sure it's Lila. And then he says, oh, I'm gonna create, and then Rocket is like, I'm gonna build big, awesome machines. And we're gonna go flying into the sky with all my friends. I'm just gonna fly into the sky. And that's why he was like, oh, the sky, and Rocket, and funnily enough, he does do that, just not with them. And, okay, then they, basically, they go back to the file. The file and the passkey's not in the file. It was removed by this dude who's like a recorder. He has this big computer thing in his head. And they saw him earlier at Orgo Corp. Basically, the High Evolutionary sent him to get that passkey so that they don't save Rocket. Because you find out at this point that he wants 89B13 for his brain. You may not find out at that moment, but you find out in 5 to 10 minutes. It's not that big of a spoiler. Well, I'm explaining the whole movie. This whole video is a spoiler. All I've put is spoiler alert in the videos or in the somewhere. So if you haven't seen the movie by now, you really should have. If you're watching this review oh crap, I messed up, I should go see this movie, watch my full review, then go watch the movie. Finish the video. And like and subscribe. Anyways, so Gamora doesn't want to be there because they're gonna go to where the High Evolutionary is. At that moment, he's not at Orgo Corp. They're gonna go and try and find him. Gamora's like, well, I wanted to help you guys break into Orgo Corp. I don't want to go on this journey because she doesn't care about any of them, right? She's a Ravager. This is really good, by the way. good tropical mango. Y'all should get it. If y'all mess with energy drinks, I really shouldn't, but I do anyway. Anyways, so basically what Gamora tries to contact with the dude who went to Orgo Corp with him, like one of the Ravagers. She didn't know that it got incinerated because they were trying to interrogate the High Priestess went to Orgo Corp. I was interrogating that guy, trying to get more, information about the Guardians and things like that. But she tells her son to, she just wants him to damage him a little bit so that he starts talking and, torture technique. He roasted her. He roasted him alive. The dude that they're supposed to interrogate, he's like, now he's no use to us. That thing was funny. It's like, now he's no use to us. Why the frick did you do that? He's missing a few up here, bro. Anyways, so she contacts that guy not knowing he's dead. And then gives the location of where they're gonna be to her, to the High Priestess. So that's how they find out that they're going to, where they decided to go, which is the High Evolutionary. I might made it through half of my notes. Okay, I'm about halfway. That's good. So, basically, they're going to counter Earth, which was meant to, replicate Earth. It's supposed to be the new world for the, or I don't know if that's supposed to be the new world, but that's one of his colonies, essentially, right? So, that's where they're going, but before we find out that, we cut to another flashback that Rocket is a part of Batch 89. That's why it's 89P13. Batch 89 includes him and all of his friends, so the rabbit, the walrus, and the otter. He basically tells Rocket, yeah, you guys aren't going to the new world, because essentially what happens is he goes to Rocket and he's like, A9B13, how'd you know about the filtration systems? How did you know? Because it's like he figured it out without even thinking about it too hard. Species he's ever, tried to create, the High Evolutionary, has actually been able to have sort of that, intuitive, intellectual thought besides Rocket. So then basically what happens is he's like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna go to the new world, but then the High Evolutionary basically tells him, he's like, no, we just need to get whatever's allowing you to do that. We need to pass that trait on to the new people that I'm creating. And then Rocket's like, I thought me and my friends were gonna go as well. And he's like, oh, you could figure out filtration systems, and you can figure out a lot of quantum mechanics, but you can't figure out that you're not going to the new world. Really heartbreaking scene. So basically he tells him no, he's gonna prep him for surgery. And then they're like, well, what do we do with the other of Batch 89? And they're like, incinerate them. I'm telling you, this bro is heartless. My basic disclaimer is, if you are not, if you're a huge animal person, and if seeing animals die, even in fictitious animals on screen, if that makes you cry and you'll feel emotionally distraught because you love animals, really, this movie may not be for you. You don't explicitly see them being tortured. I like animals, right? I like animals, but I'm not a vegan or a person who loves animals. And even I felt a certain type of way just because I like Rocket. Anyways, so he goes back to the cages. He's going around and he's scrounging for shit. He's scrounging for stuff. And then he builds this little card thing, which allows him basically to unlock the cages. And then as he unlocks the cages, something we saw in the earlier cutscene pretty sure it's Lila. Anyways, so he unlocks the cages. He's hugging Lila, and then she's like, "It's so great to have Brett," and she gets shot in the back. And then in the scuff, and then because he shoots him, and then he starts calling for backup. The High Evolutionary shoots Lila and starts calling for backup. And then, like, after he calls for backup, Rocket just starts, like, wailing, and he's crying, because, like, that's basically, like, his friend that just died in front of him. This is, like, the first time he's feeling grief. And the High Evolutionary's like, oh my, he's like, wow. Like, grow up. He essentially tells him, like, yes, it's sad, but, like, he starts mocking him, like, it's kind of like really a mean scene. And then Rocket lashes out and scratches his face off. And that's important for later. He scratches his face off. And then, like, as he's like, after he scratches his face off, the two people he called for backup from come and start shooting at him. He shoots both of them, turns around, and all of his friends are dead. All my friends are dead. Push me to the edge. Sorry. So yeah, all of his friends die. He goes and he steals a spaceship, and then he leaves the planet, and that's like how he got away. After that, it cuts back to Quill and Groot as they're speaking to the High Evolutionary. Because, did I explain this? Okay, I didn't explain that. So, by the way, let's back up. When they first land on Counter Earth, Quill and Groot go to meet the High Evolutionary at, like, his station or whatever. There's this whole interlude where, like, he basically they talk to the locals to try and figure out where the High Evolutionary is, and then they find out that, like, he's at this pyramid over off in the corner. So he goes to the pyramid because they're trying to find the dude with the computer, you know, the pass key in his head. So they break into that, and Mantis and Drax are supposed to watch Rocket with Gamora, who's, like, in the ship. But Drax being Drax, he decided to say bump that, and then he went to go after Quill. Oh, and Nebula went with Quill and Groot, but she couldn't go into the spaceship, into the pyramid thing, because she had too many body mods, and that's, like, because she had weapons in her body, because, you know, she's, like, mechanical. So that was, like, a policy against weapons, and she couldn't go in. So, basically, now we're caught up. So Nebula, basically, as they're talking to the HE, which is the High Evolutionary, Quill and Groot kill, like, a bunch of their people, and they jump out the window to escape. And then Groot, you know, he basically, like, can turn his body into whatever, right? Because he's made of wood. He turns his, like, body into wings, like the back of his, like, his lats. They, like, come out into wings, and then they float down to the surface with the guy with the passkey in his head. Then, when Drax and Mantis leave, they send Warpig, which is, like, one of the guards at the AG's place, to go and get Rocket because he's unguarded. They know he's unguarded. Gamora, and this is when Warlock shows up, because remember they were trying to track him to the planet. Warlock shows up, fights off Warpig, cuts off his head. Gamora tries to leave with Rocket. As this is all happening, High Evolutionary's like, okay, we have to blow the planet up, because basically, when they first landed on the planet, they saw that people were, like, fighting and, like, for drug money or whatever. So whenever he sees something that's imperfect, he has to blow it up. Get rid of it. Send it into the ether. Like, it doesn't even matter. So he starts to blow the planet up. And as he's doing that, Gamora's flying the ship to try to get... Basically, she goes to get Quill and Drax. Well, no, I'm sorry. Quill And then as soon as they get that off the dude's head, they go into the ship. And there's this whole interlude where like Rocket tries to, there's this whole interlude where like he's in heaven, I guess, talking to Lila. And then she's like, oh yeah, the sky, because something she says early on is like, the sky goes on forever and ever. I bet it goes on forever and ever. And she's like, I've been flying with our friends and we've been going forever and ever. And what that essentially means is they're like flying in animal heaven or whatever that is. And so yeah, he's like, can I come with you guys? And she's like, no. She's like, you will and you can, but not yet because you have a purpose down there. And he's like, what's my purpose? It's like, who cares? And then she basically said like, this has been your story all along. Like, it's been your story the whole time. It's all about you, something like that. He shoots back down, and he's awake. He's alive. Rocket is saved. And then after Rocket's saved, then basically they get in contact with Nebula, because Nebula, Drax, and Mantis thought that Quill and Groot were still on the ship, but they jumped out. But they never like went on their comm. They're like, hey, we're off the ship. They never did that. They could have done that the whole time, but they never did that. So they take the ship into space. Quill calls nowhere, and then Kraglin, I think is his name, the dude with the spike that old buddy had from the other movie, the guy that died or whatever. And so he calls nowhere. They go into space. The whole planet blows up. And then Drax, Nebula, and Mantis get into the ship because Drax just knocks the wall. He knocks the door down. And they're able to get into the ship. So, now that they're on the ship, they see a bunch of like little kids in cages. Whoop-de freaking do. But in an earlier scene, the High Evolutionary is talking about the new people that they're going to take to the new colony, right? And he mentioned how they were like, they can do all these different processes and they're really epic. But the one thing that they can't do is the thing that Rocket can do, and that they can't be inventive. They just have like route memorization, so they can't really do much. So basically, Drax, Nebula, and Mantis are locked up. They know. Okay, what did I say? So basically, the High Evolutionary shows up, and like, I guess he's trying to like, hey, bring A9P13 here, or else. I guess I actually should have expanded on that because I can't remember exactly what happened. Anyways, so he says that they'll blow, so they bring Nowhere there, and they're gonna talk, and they're gonna like, break the starboard wall, because they're gonna try and get the kids onto Nowhere to save them. So they have to figure out, but the thing is these kids are speaking a different freaking language. They're saying jip jip, ukalaka ukalaka, jip jip, shit like that. And apparently, I don't know who wrote this in, apparently Drax knows, and they never explain it. Drax knows how to speak their language. Drax has been a dumb fuck for 3 movies. How does he know to speak this random ass language? I'm sorry. How do you know that? Anyways, I'm sorry. But he somehow knows the language. He knows how to speak it. He tells them to get away from the starboard wall. They blow it up, and then they escort all the kids onto the ship, because they have like a telekinetic dog that can hold the ships together. Anyways, so as Nowhere shows up and blows the starboard wall, they release the Hellspawn, which is like some, play Doom? It looks like a Doom character, honestly. If you've ever played a Doom game, like a zombie demon. Anyways, so the last part of the movie, the Guardians defeat all the hellspawn and get all the children, and they find a bunch of animals too. And then there's this whole scene with Rocket being like, we have to save all of them because he finds a cage of a raccoon and then of a bunch of raccoons, and then which I'll get at that later. But anyways, he starts like trying to save them all, and then he's like, no, we gotta save all of them because like I'm an animal, so we gotta save all the animals. And then he realizes that he's like a raccoon. That's when AG shows up, High Evolutionary, starts fighting him. All of his buddies show up. They kick his ass, and then they peel off the face mask. Like, he basically has his face mask on, and then it shows his mangled up face that Rocket like scratched. And he's like, why would you do this to me? Like, I was just trying to make everything perfect. And this is my favorite line in the movie. Rocket goes, you didn't hate things. You weren't trying to make things perfect. You just hated how they were. I was like, oh my god, that's cool. Anyways, so Warlock. So basically, there's this whole thing. I'm running out of time, so I'm just gonna start speed running this. Quill tries to. So the ships start to split apart, and then Quill has to jump from one ship to another ship. He gets caught in the dead of space, but then the Warlock guy, he got saved by Groot in an earlier scene, so he feels like he has to. Oh, he's like, everyone deserves a second chance, so he saves Quill. Then Quill, they all have a meeting. Quill comes to the conclusion that he needs to stop running from that he's still running from his past. He needs to reconcile the issues with his grandfather, because that's why I mentioned the thing with him and Mantis from earlier. Mantis realizes she needs to find herself because her whole life has been with Ego and the Guardians, and like, she really doesn't know what she truly wants. Gamora softens up to Quill finally, and then she goes back to the Ravagers. Drax and Nebula stay at nowhere to build a new society and home for all the children and animals, because they're introducing up a lot of people, and they need to be able to sustain that. So then Rocket becomes a new leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy and leads them in their missions, consisting of one of the new race children. I think her name was like Phyla or something. Kraglin, who has the headpiece that the dude wore in the last movie that died, like Quill's dad, whatever. And then Warlock, Groot, and Cosmo, which is like Cosmo's the dog who held them together because she has telekinesis. There's an extra credit scene where they're all chatting about to save a civilization. Or is that just the end of the movie? No, that's definitely like the extra credit, because the movie ends with them dancing, and then the second extra credit scene is Quill chatting with his grandfather about like everyday life stuff or whatever. It's pretty funny. Sorry, I just blew into the mic. Sorry, guys. I had to speedrun that. I have so many notes. Like, I literally, when I was typing this up in a Google Doc, I had 3 pages of notes. I couldn't bullet point it because then I would be typing paragraphs all the time. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like I said, please like and subscribe. Give me a comment. Let me know your feedback. If you have anything that you would like me to do a video on, film review, anime, I'll be doing a lot more of these videos. I have a lot more content in store for you guys. So keep a lookout. Hit the bell when you subscribe so that you'll be notified whenever I post a video. I'll have a lot of content coming up to the next couple of weeks. But like I said, again, thank you so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. You have a good one.